Story 1. I had a woman who, upon inspecting the few pairs of jeans available, came over to angrily tell me that they were all the same size. Yes, I tend to only purchase jeans that fit me and do not hold stock of a variety of sizes, in case I decide to sell them to you one day. Story 2. I've learned I would rather donate it, give it away, or simply leave it by the road than force awkward conversations with random people sifting through the remnants of my life, intruding on my space. It's just not worth it in my opinion. Story 3. People have no shame about ringing the bell and demanding to see your items hours before the garage sale is scheduled to start. Story 4. A stranger backed their Subaru into our driveway, got out, and started placing some items on our table. We watched in shock, curious about what would happen next. They put stickers on their belongings and left. Being someone who is always interested in unique experiences, I sold their items and set the money aside. They made $22 but never returned. I kept that money for 3 years and even placed an ad in the newspaper. When I was about 3 or 4, my aunt gave me a dime to spend at a nearby garage sale, which was around 1979. I bought a blue plastic cup with a straw built into the side, and I still use it. Story 5. I had a folding card table with some knickknacks and frankly just some junk on it, with a free sign on it. I was puttering around with some other things, and I looked over to see a woman folding 3 of the legs of the table. Oh, the table's not free? I thought. Story 6. People will try to talk you down from any price. A $20,000 Rolex for a quarter? Nah, all I have is a dime. Story 7. If you advertise at 9 a.m., a crowd of individuals will arrive while you are setting up around 8 a.m. and attempt to buy items at a low price. They can be quite aggressive. Story 8. The resellers provided endless entertainment. If anything here was actually worth real money, we would have sold it ourselves. The most entertaining item was an old porcelain vase that appeared to be an antique but was actually an Avon trinket from the 1980s. I witnessed no fewer than 10 people double park their cars, sprint out as though their butt was on fire, grab the vase as if it were a precious artifact, check the bottom, then place it back down and trudge back to their vehicles in defeat. Story 9. People will change price tags from a cheap item to a more expensive item. A friend helped, but they didn't know the real prices and sold a $25 item for $5. Story 10. The items you believe are absolute garbage will be the first ones to sell. Conversely, the item you hesitate to part with because it is valuable, rare, or collectible will remain unsold all day with a 50-cent sticker on it. Story 11. I had a customer buy a DVD in the morning for 50 cents. He returned in the afternoon, presumably after watching it, wanting to return it for a refund. Story 12. When my dad had an estate sale, a man bought one shoe, not the pair, and seemed quite happy. I still wonder how much that single shoe was actually worth, or if he was just a quack. Story 13. I remember 2 things. One lady wanted to know if the food processor worked. I assumed it did, but wasn't sure since I inherited it from my grandma, who has passed away, so I couldn't ask her. I had never used it, and there were so many parts that I just wanted it gone. I was only asking $2 for it, but she wanted to test it. I let her have it for free. Then I was selling a really nice armchair for $35. I didn't want it, and it was bought by my ex. A woman tried to haggle with me to pay only $10. I held firm, and she got very upset because she was a single mother and thought I should help her out. Did it even occur to her that I was selling it because I desperately needed the money? Of course not. She stormed off, and it sold about 20 minutes later. She came back for it and was upset that it was gone. You snooze, you lose. Story 14. The most surprising thing to me is that I learned nothing from the horrible display of human nature during my last garage sale, yet I voluntarily chose to do it again. Story 15. We had all our items on our front yard and had listed them for a yard sale. After a while, my wife informed me that there was a man in our house. I went in and he said he thought it was an estate sale. I told him he needed to leave, and he hesitated. I insisted that he leave immediately, and he did. Story 16. People want something for nothing. I have had individuals arrive in a new BMW walk away from items of designer clothing in excellent condition because I refused to reduce the price from $3 to $2. Story 17. It was similar for me, as I had to conduct an estate sale when my parents passed away. They had a lot of belongings, and I had already taken what I wanted. Even after the sale, the unexpected challenge was the cost of disposing of the items that did not sell. I had to pay people to remove the remaining items. Story 18. I told my wife the number one rule. No matter what, do not let anyone use the bathroom. I got distracted and she let some kids use it. There was urine everywhere. Story 19. Just read through most of the posts. Yes, people will steal, haggle, switch tags, and show up way too early regardless of the times. At my last garage sale, I staged and priced everything in my garage. I did no advertising, got up early, and put up signs on Friday mornings since my home was on a well-traveled road. I did the same on Saturday, but by noon, I posted another sign indicating everything was $1, even bundling items to move them. I closed at 3 p.m. and sold everything. Friends helped monitor customers. I remember a woman haggled me down to $30 for a $2,500 cherry curio cabinet. She got a great deal. Story 20. A woman spent a good 10 minutes looking at a hair dye bowl and brush that I was selling for $2. She offered 50 cents for only the bowl, as she did not use the brush. I informed her that it was a kit. Now, what a waste of her time. She returned at the end of the day and bought it. Story 21. When we lived in the city, our neighbors had a garage sale. When we walked outside, we saw a woman trying to haggle over 5-cent books. At that moment, I decided I would never have a garage sale. Story 22. I sold everything to 2 people and finished in 20 minutes. The first person bought 2/3 of my items, and the second person took the rest. Story 23. The first customer arrived an hour early and wanted to buy a $5 item with a $100 bill. I told him I did not have that much change, so he threw it on the floor and left. Story 24. People do steal. There is a subculture that shows up at every yard sale first thing in the morning, before you are even open, and often picks it clean. Some of them offer you $5 for something you are asking $20 for. They are persistent and often know each other. It's what they do. Story 25. No matter how low you price items, people will still haggle. I sold brand new baby outfits for 50 cents, and people still wanted a discount. Story 26. How many lonely people go to yard sales just to have someone to talk to? I have actually met some really interesting people at my sales, along with a few odd characters. Story 27. Many years ago, I was helping my parents with a garage sale. One man asked to speak to me away from the other visitors. He then repeatedly inquired if I had any firearms to sell, even after I told him there were none. It gave me a strange feeling. He eventually left without purchasing anything. Story 28. My item was $1. A man wanted 25 cents for the item. Later, as the day stretched into night, just to get rid of things, we started pricing items at 50 cents and still had 1 or 2 people haggle down to 25 cents. Why are people like this? Story 29. I was once involved in a town-wide garage sale. I lived in a small place with a population of 700 people. The town decided to hold a big garage sale day, and anyone who wanted to participate could set up that day and be a dot on the map published in the local newspaper. Many people came along and it was a great day. I made some money, cleared out some items, and made new friends. Story 30. Every time I held a yard sale, my goal was to get rid of things. So I was almost always willing to negotiate unless someone was being difficult. I was selling a 1950s maple tea cart, and a woman offered far below my asking price. I told her no. She insisted it wasn't worth what I was asking and kept pointing out any flaws. I responded that she clearly didn't want it enough to pay my price and asked her to please move along. The cart didn't sell, and she actually returned to my house that night and demanded I sell it to her. I simply said no and closed the door. Then there are the people who offer 50 cents for every item, no matter what it is. Those are the individuals who usually end up stealing the item. Story 31. How upset people get if you have to cancel at the last minute. My family planned a garage sale for Saturday and Sunday. On Sunday, there was an emergency, and some family members had to leave immediately. Obviously, we could not have the sale that day and didn't have time to take down the signs. Many people felt the need to park outside our house and honk because we didn't have the sale going on. I don't know if they thought we would just hurry up and open because they were honking. I understand that if you follow a sign and there is no sale, it is frustrating. But life happens. Story 32. People haggle no matter how low the price is. They will always counteroffer with half the price you quoted, and once a price is decided, they will ask for additional items for free. This behavior can be quite frustrating. Story 33. People who would hassle me about a deeply discounted item for a better deal were persistent. My rule is, once it goes out, it doesn't come back in. One guy repeatedly asked for a cordless drill and 2 batteries valued at $5 for just $2. He kept returning with the same request. When I closed up, he came back and took it for free. I let him because of my frustration with his persistence. Story 34. How early in the morning do people come out to garage sales, despite the advertisement clearly stating a start time? Story 35. I just remembered a cheap neighbor from my childhood when I was around 7 years old. She asked my brother and me to help her move all her belongings from her basement to her garage. Everything was labeled. As payment, we were allowed to choose first from her items and put one item each on layaway if we needed more time to pay. I chose a desk caddy for $1. In the 1970s, that was a lot. Story 36. The house I lived in was owned by my parents before I bought it. My grandmother also lived here, so there was a lot of belongings. I've had a few garage sales over the years, and they have been interesting, to say the least. I think I'm finally at the point where I really don't have enough items for another sale. My husband and I aren't really materialistic people, and at this point we've trashed, sold, or donated nearly all the belongings that came with the house that we didn't want. Here are my takeaways. 1. Unless you have high-value items like cars, yard tools, regular tools, current style furniture, or mid-century modern items, don't expect to make a lot of money. Our most profitable garage sale netted us $800. And for the amount of work and hassle, I'm not sure it was worth it, at least in terms of money. However, it did free up a lot of space, which was great. 2, you'll get 3 waves of buyers. The resellers come early and swarm, the curious neighbors and treasure hunters come next, and then the rest of the day is filled with casual browsers. About 50% of them will buy something. I like most of those folks, and many of them are super nice and interesting, but some are just plain creepy and weird. I'm glad I have my husband with me at all times during these sales. 3, people can and do come early. Have a game plan in place for dealing with that before the sale. 4, there is really no telling what will sell and what won't. It depends on the mix of people you attract and what they're looking for. Generally, people love yard tools and regular tools, but beyond that, it's unpredictable. Some items that have consistently not sold are wall art, furniture, and kitchen items unless they're collectible. Story 37. My brother-in-law had an issue with a group of Amish at a recent garage sale. They quickly took everything of value. Now my brother-in-law dislikes Amish people. Story 38. I bought coffee and donuts for my wife, our friend, and myself, as we were going to sit all day for our garage sale. The total was around $13. After about 8 hours of the garage sale, we closed it up. We earned $12, but we got rid of a lot of items. Story 39. People will sneak inside your house to steal. Our mistake was trusting dishonest individuals. Never let them use your bathroom. Story 40. I bought a fixer-upper and sold many leftovers at a yard sale, which allowed me to meet all the neighbors. I also made some good money selling various items. Story 41. Clients claim everything is for sale, sign a contract agreeing to such, allow advertising of specific items, then pull the items from the sale at the last minute. Customers travel from afar for specific items only to be told the item is unavailable, damaging the company's reputation and disappointing customers. This has happened at every sale I have hosted over the years. Story 42. When my dad passed away, we had an estate sale. Mom had bought a fake handbag in New York City a long time ago, and I think we priced it at $20. One woman grabbed it and kept it under her arm while she looked around for half an hour. Then she brought it up to the counter and paid for it with a handful of 50-cent items. She truly believed it was the real deal. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.